When a Republican congressman has to publicly insist his party isn't subservient to Trump, you know you've hit a nerve. The GOP's transformation from legislative branch to presidential cheerleading squad is now so complete that they're getting defensive about it. But here's the problem. The evidence tells a very different story than their protests. We're about to examine how the party of constitutional conservatism became a loyalty cult where dissent equals political death. The denial came from Representative Derek Van Orden, who felt compelled to make this remarkable declaration.
The President of the United States didn't give us an assignment. We're not a bunch of little bitches around here, okay? I'm a member of Congress. I represent almost 800,000 Wisconsinites.
Nothing says we're independent quite like having to loudly proclaim your independence. Van Orden's protest would be more convincing if his actions matched his words. But immediately after this defiant statement, he contradicted himself completely.
I am standing strong with Donald Trump and the One Big Beautiful Bill. Once again, we have some pretend backstabbing President Trump.
This contradiction reveals the central tension in modern Republican politics. The gap between constitutional responsibility and Trump loyalty has become a chasm that requires increasingly elaborate mental gymnastics to navigate. The contradiction becomes even starker when you examine what Van Orden is actually supporting. His independence means voting for legislation that will devastate his own constituents. Over 32,000 of his constituents will lose healthcare access. Over 34,000 could lose food assistance. Almost 2,000 energy jobs in his district could disappear, and at least one rural hospital in his district could close. Yet, he's voting for this destruction anyway. Why? Political analysts make the motivation crystal clear.
Number two, to put your name up in lights at this point as a Republican, to say I'm the person who's stopping the president's agenda, that's a thing. And so, this is where he has had success in the past and where Speaker Johnson has had success in the past. When the president engages and he puts his shoulder to the wheel, they have had success in getting close votes over the line.
The fear is palpable. As one Trump ally put it,
The no vote right now is political suicide. Go ahead, add your name to the list.
the consequences of defying Trump are swift and devastating. When Thom Tillis dared vote against the bill, Trump's retaliation was immediate.
Why are we currently not getting 2.8% growth today with the assumption if the CBO is at 1.8 and the administration's at 2.8, and part of what we're talking about here is extending the tax cuts that are already in place, and yes, you're going to capture no tax on tips, and maybe that'll drive some of this, but what is going to get you to the 2.8 number?
It's Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has become the Republican answer to every policy question. No analysis, no data, no logic. Just invoke the name and hope it suffices. The cult-like devotion reaches its peak with media allies who explicitly threaten dissenters.
And so you can either vote with the AOC or you can vote with Donald Trump. So don't tell me that you're a conservative if you're not with Donald Trump. That's not going to fly. You're never coming back. And shame on you, and you get on that plane and try to go home and try to tell everybody, oh, I stood tough. Yeah, I got these big Instagram muscles. Look how tough I am on Twitter. Well, you don't support the president. That's just not going to fly.
Clicks, Jason.
If you're one of those Republicans that are in the last three, because that's what it'll be, if there are 3 nay votes, you will never be involved and engaged in politics because you can't say that you're a Republican and support Donald Trump. That's the game they're playing. That's the dangerous game they're playing. And why they're messing around with President Trump at this hour, at this time, Get over it. Vote yay, get on with the rule, and then vote on final pass.
The final proof of Republicans' subservience comes from their own mouths. Listen to this representative explain what really matters.
We need to give certainty to the American people, but the most important thing is we all committed to support President Trump. He is counting on us to deliver on his signature legislative achievement, and we just have to get the job done. And I'll stay here all night. I'll stay here for the next week all night. I'll sleep in that cloakroom if that's what we have to do to get the job done for President Trump.
The most important thing is we all committed to support President Trump. Not healthcare, not jobs, not the Constitution, not their constituents. Supporting Trump is the highest priority. This represents the complete inversion of constitutional government. The legislative branch exists to check executive power, not serve it. Representatives are supposed to advocate for their districts, not sacrifice them for presidential approval. Derek Van Orden can protest all he wants about not being subservient, but the evidence is overwhelming. When you vote to devastate your own constituents because defying the president means career death, when Donald Trump becomes your answer to policy questions, when supporting the president matters more than serving the people, that's not independence. That's servitude. The Republican Party has transformed from a political organization into a personality cult where constitutional principles are sacrificed for personal loyalty. Van Orden's defensive protest only proves how complete this transformation has become. Representatives like Van Orden face an impossible choice: represent their constituents and lose their careers, or serve Trump and betray their oath of office. The fact that so many choose personal survival over public service reveals how thoroughly Trump has corrupted the institution of Congress. This isn't governance, it's a protection racket where loyalty buys safety and independence guarantees destruction. Until Republicans rediscover their constitutional backbone, American democracy will continue degrading into an authoritarian system where one man's approval determines legislative outcomes. If this analysis of Republican servitude shocked you, I need your help spreading awareness. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into how American democracy is being transformed before our eyes. But more importantly, I want to hear from you. Do you think there's any path back to constitutional governance for the Republican Party? Or has the transformation into a Trump loyalty cult become irreversible? Are there any Republicans left who might choose constituents over Trump? Or has fear completely taken over? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you know Republicans who still believe in constitutional principles, share this video with them. Sometimes seeing the evidence laid out clearly can break through the partisan fog. Your engagement helps more Americans understand what's really happening to our political system, so please like, comment, and share. Democracy depends on informed citizens, and that includes all of us.